Now we move on to Russia-Ukraine. Russia air defenses intercepted over 100 Ukrainian drones overnight across multiple regions, including 27 targeting Moscow, officials confirmed today. The Defense Ministry reported 112 drones downed, with 59 intercepted in the Bryansk region, where minor property damage was reported but no casualties. 11 drones were shot down in Smolensk near Poland. The attacks mirror recent Ukrainian drone waves as well as Russia's own massive assaults on Ukraine. President Zelensky said over 900 Russian missiles and drones struck Ukraine in 3 days, killing 13 civilians, including 3 children in Zhytomyr, west of Kyiv. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump issued a stark warning to Russian President Vladimir Putin, declaring he's playing with fire as the U.S. considers fresh sanctions over the ongoing war in Ukraine. Trump's sharp remarks come after a deadly Russian drone strike killed at least 13 Ukrainians and amid stalled peace talks. Expressing frustration, Trump claimed Putin has gone absolutely crazy, a significant shift from his past praise of the Russian leader. Reports suggest that Trump may impose new sanctions as early as this week. The White House says Trump is keeping all options open. Russia continues to blame Ukraine for provoking conflict, claiming massive drone attacks by Kyiv. Meanwhile, Ukraine and U.S. lawmakers are urging tougher action. Top Republicans and Democrats are calling for stronger sanctions, including secondary measures on Russian oil buyers. Meanwhile, Turkey's Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan, currently in Moscow, will visit Kyiv this week. A Turkish official confirmed yesterday. The exact date remains undisclosed. Turkey maintains strong ties with both Russia and Ukraine, as well as it's hosted their first direct peace talks earlier this month. While Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov, after meeting Turkey's Hakan Fidan, proposed continuing Russia-Ukraine peace talks in Istanbul, calling it a very good location. Let's listen in to what Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has said.
Что касается второго раунда переговоров России и Украины, если вы спросите меня, я бы вновь обратился к нашим турецким друзьям в Стамбуле.
We have guest Daniel Wagner, CEO of Country Risk Solution, joining us from Portland, United States. Thank you, Daniel, for staying with us. How significant is the fact that drones targeted Moscow directly? Is this a shift in Ukrainian tactics?
Well, it's not a shift in tactics. They've attacked Moscow before, but what is new is that now it has the blessing of the European Union, and specifically Germany, which today lifted its previous restrictions on utilizing their arms for long-range attacks into Russia. It's very likely that what Putin is doing is actually going to backfire on him, because he was banking, I think, on the fact that there would be continued restraint on the part of the Americans and the Europeans. And the Europeans have basically said they've had it with Putin at this point. And of course, there's a lot at stake for them too, which is a big reason why they are saying it's time to act boldly. They're perhaps 3 years too late. You could also say that about the Americans, why they had limited the ability of the Ukrainians to attack deep into Russia since the beginning of the war. Now I think many people in the US are regretting having done that.
And what does this massive drone exchange say about the escalation between Russia and Ukraine?
Well, very clearly it says that there's no end in sight, despite the idea that there was a mutually agreed short-term, say 30-day ceasefire that was supposed to be taking effect soon. Certainly Zelensky was committed to doing that. It wasn't clear that Putin had made such a commitment. But there is no peace prospect at the moment. It's very clear that escalation is on the horizon. And while some people think that what Putin is perhaps ultimately doing is simply creating a buffer zone to give him better leverage in future negotiations, other people are saying, well, he's never lost sight of the fact that he wanted to take all of Ukraine. Now he's betting that Ukraine is on the back foot, that the U.S. is wavering in its support, and that it's the time for him to perhaps go for that original objective. That seems very unlikely that he's going to be able to do that. His army is depleted, his weapons are in short supply, and clearly the U.S. and the EU are getting pretty upset with him at this point.
And what impact could Trump's playing with fire warning and potential new sanctions have on Putin's strategy?
Well, that's anybody's guess, of course. Nobody can really say what Trump's policy is going to be on a daily basis, but he's under a lot of pressure from a lot of quarters, even in his Republican Party, from the MAGA movement, to take stronger measures against Russia and even implement, as you suggested earlier, these secondary restraints against the purchasers of Russian energy. Namely, it would be India and China. So I guess it's a potential raising of the ante, if you will. If secondary sanctions are put in place that affect the likes of India and China, well, there's going to be a lot more people who are upset about the whole situation. So I think he's certainly tempted to do that at this point.
And Daniel, according to you, why is Turkey positioned as a potential peace broker again? And can Istanbul talks actually move forward this time?
Relationship with both Russia and the U.S. and the EU. So on that basis, they would be a natural candidate. And if you think about, potentially hosting it at a European capital, they're not exactly sort of neutral arbiters in this thing. So Turkey makes sense to me, and they're happy to play that role. And I think it's good of them to step up to the plate at this point. I'd be pretty surprised, however, if Putin is going to immediately order some kind of a ceasefire and go to the peace talks. That seems very unlikely.
Thank you very much, Daniel Wagner, for joining us and sharing that insight for both our stories. Well, that's all we have time for. We will continue to bring more news updates from around the world.